Annihilation.
One minute at a time.
From yon far country blows, what are those blue remembered hills? What spires, what farms are those? That is the land of lost content. I see it shining plain, the happy highways where I went, and cannot come again. A. E. Hausman, Into My Heart, An Air That Kills. The credits roll to their appropriate end, including in this minute 3 song credits, Helplessly Hoping by Crosby, Stills and Nash, and The Mark interlude by Motorrat, both of which were discussed in, among other episodes of the show, minute 6. But also credited is Sex Music by Beak. And I have no idea when any of that song was heard in the film. It is distressing. Like not knowing who played Michael's mother when I covered the original Halloween in Michael Myers Minute. not being able to locate one of the house locations while covering About Time in 2 Minutes About Time, or... Which reminds me, this show is coming to an end with this episode. And unless you are someone who found this show because of my other Movies by Minutes podcasts, you might not even know who I am. I do not begin episodes by welcoming you to the show. I do not introduce myself. I do not tell you where to find more of my stuff in the outro. I have maintained a sort of anonymity in this show. Mostly. I have mentioned myself in this show 5 times. My poem, The First Cause, ended minute 6. My poem, Scarecrow, ended minute 11. My poem, Time Loop, began minute 31. And in minute 45, I quoted my Groundhog Day Project blog, day 641, Everybody's Gonna Learn Sometime, but treated it as a regular source to be quoted. It was only in minute 95 that I actually referred to myself by name, Professor Robert E.G. Black, as the host of this podcast. When I first heard of Movies by Minutes podcasts, I was still writing my daily blog about movies, the above-mentioned Groundhog Day Project, which began with me viewing the film Groundhog Day 365 days in a row and blogging about the experience. My first impulse as to films to cover in this Movies by Minutes format was Annihilation, because Groundhog Day was being covered at the time by Sean German and Dave Pallas, and I would guest on 4 episodes of that show, including their finale. But I pictured that podcast as something like the thing it ultimately was, a dense, research-fueled thing, scripted word for word. I did not plan for poems to open each episode, and I certainly did not realize how difficult it would be sometimes to find the right poem. I did recognize that there were a few books I needed to read before I even began, and I wasn't sure what kind of time commitment was involved in a podcast generally, let alone one pieced together like this one has been. So, I did not begin with Annihilation. I began with Michael Myers Minute, covering the 1978 original Halloween, and intending to continue through its sequels, except my tendency to write out my notes in more and more detail has precluded me from getting even to 1981's Halloween 2. My ADHD movie-obsessed brain has also kept me from returning to that original well. My second show was a group effort that I organized, recorded numerous episodes for, and even interviewed multiple people involved with the production. The show was Dave Made a Minute. The film was Dave Made a Maze. Then began Annihilation Minute, its first preview episode going out 28th February 2019. Then The Room Minute, exploring with co-host Allison Liddell one of the worst movies ever made, and loving it. Mandy Sucks Minute, a podcast fueled by hate, exploring another one of the worst movies ever made, but with a far more negative tone. This is also the only other show I've done that did not regularly include guests. Cock and Bull Minute, which quite deliberately avoided talking about Tristram Shandy, a cock and bull story. 2 Minutes About Time, exploring with co-host Luke Allen, the film About Time. Pump Up the Minute, where I teamed up with my wife Sarah to cover Pump Up the Volume and talk a lot about music and politics. 5 Minute Arrival, again teaming up with my wife, this time to cover the film Arrival. I also have 5 different podcasts beginning in the next few months. A trilogy of shows going 1 episode a week like Annihilation Minute has, Minutia Ex Machina, The Groundhog Day Project Minute by Minute, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Minute. Those titles should give away what movies are being covered. My wife will join me for those, off and on, and there will be guests as well. Additionally, I am organizing group coverage of Stand By Me on a show called Stand By Minute. And I will have a show that will primarily be behind the Patreon wall, but will also include episodes available on your usual podcatchers, and even some video episodes on YouTube, or at least that is the plan. Twin Peaks Radio, which will begin with an episode-by-episode breakdown of the original 2 seasons of Twin Peaks, except I plan to let tangents and sidetracks have their own episodes, or series of episodes. I have also done numerous guest spots and hosted short stretches on some other group projects. Links to all my shows and guest spots can be found at lemmingdrops.com. On Facebook, you can find pages for each show, or join the group Lemming Drops Studio Tour for regular updates. Additionally, you can help fund my podcast efforts by becoming a patron at patreon.com/lemmingdrops. There is one last bit of Annihilation to offer, the ending of Garland's script. Lena and Kane have been reunited at the Southern Reach facility, and then, behind her, we can see through the window to the night sky, and in that sky we see a shooting star. Then another. Then another. Cut to. Interior, lower atmosphere, night. The shooting stars as falling meteors. As we saw in the opening images of the film, a hunk of rock burning as it falls through Earth's atmosphere. And as the nearest meteor splits apart, we see in its core something shimmering. Cut to black. End. So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others in their view, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the Great Divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger, when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for abuse turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death, so that when their time comes they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. Often attributed to Chief Tecumseh, Shawnee Nation. And time runs out for this podcast.
We spoke. What was it we said?
Wordlessly watching, he waits by the window and wonders at the empty place inside.
It was a dream. We lived inside a dream.
Life's no ordeal if you come to terms. Reject the system dictating the norms from dehumanization to arms production to hasten this nation towards its destruction. It's your choice, your choice, your choice, your choice. Peace or annihilation.
Annihilation is all we are.
Annihilation.